Hey guys, this is Obsidian Chill. Got another video for today. This is coming from the DC test server, part of episode 41, House of Legends. This is Throne of the Dead Elite, the upscale version for their Wonder Woman release that comes Thursday, October 21st. So with that release, we're getting the Raising Hades duo, we're getting the Themyscira Divided Alert, and we're getting Throne of the Dead Elite as a part of that raid. So that's the release that's coming. Fun fact, if you weren't aware, Throne of the Dead Elite is actually the first Elite raid that DC ever came out with. This was during the beginning of AMs. Quantum AM came out during this time. So I'm not going to really touch on like strategy points or guide points because things could change. This is still early on test, so there could be some minor changes. So there's no point in going to like a pure mechanics or a guide walkthrough. I will certainly do one of those videos because this raid, not that it's mechanic heavy, it's I guess you could say strategy heavy. As you can see here, we're using 3 tanks. That's something you normally don't see. Actually, I don't think there's ever been a raid where you need 3 tanks except Throne of the Dead. And I wouldn't say you need 3 tanks. It's just that 3 tanks puts you in a much better position. It's pretty much impossible to fail with 3 tanks and Throne of the Dead Elite. You can do 2 tanks. It's just that you run into a lot of damage splitting. So we'll kind of get into the concept here because I'm sure there's a lot of players that aren't used to even this raid or what it entails or haven't run it or have run it, you know, when it was either clamped or other content where you just kind of breeze through it. So the first boss fight, you kill some ads at the beginning. I kind of skipped the ad fights because, I mean, that was kind of pointless. So the concept of the first boss is that there is ads that spawn. You can't kill the ads because if you kill one ad, 2 respawn. So it's really pointless to kill ads. You know, if you get into a pug group where, you know, you've got a bunch of like brawling, Shuriken Storm spamming Gemini DPS, you're pretty much screwed. Like, that tank is going to die, and as you can see here, there's Punisher ads, there's Bowmaster ads, there's all the special ads from the Wonder Woman content in this as well. So then Bowmaster will target the group. Punisher, obviously, you can't destroy, so it's based on damage. It could, if you're damaging the ads and the Punisher's up, then everyone's going to run into that field, just like Fractured Gotch for Elite, if you remember the Punisher was in there as well. So the issue here with the amount of ads here, you get to the point where if you're killing ads or accidentally kill some ads, tanks can really hold aggro on 16 NPCs. After you get 16 NPCs, it gets a little bit, you know, haywire in terms of how aggro works. So in terms of not being able to hold that many targets, you get to the point where there's going to be ads that wander off and the tank has to repull it, and it just becomes kind of a mess. 16 is kind of that magic number. And from our experiences testing it hasn't really changed either. So the concept is you have to separate the ads, you have to separate Ares, and you have to separate an ad called the Essence, or the Essence of War. It's in the top right if you are looking on the screen. The trick to the Essence is that only the tank can kill it. If any other person besides a tank part, like a tank roll, hits the Essence, it'll heal up to full. So ads can hit it and they heal up to full. Allies will heal it up to full because allies aren't considered your tank power roll. So if you're damaging it, the faster you can kill it, then it drops Ares' shield. That's why we're only hitting Ares for like 1. So once he drops a shield, you have a little window of, I believe, it could be 10 seconds that you know, correct me, or obviously in the guide I'll make sure I know the exact timing, but I'm pretty sure it's like 10 seconds at DPS, and then Ares will put back up the shield, another Essence will spawn, and you kind of repeat the process. So it's different phases. Usually if you have really good burn, it's about 3 phases with Ares, but it's just, you're just pushing as much damage in the short amount of window as you can, and then that's the first boss. The issue most groups run into, there's really not too many players, groups that even have 3 tanks. You know, unless a bunch of those gadgets and electric prec DPS are going to switch back to rage prec for this, then you're going to run into an issue where, you know, you can barely find 1 tank for raids in LFG, and now you need 3 just for the first boss. So that was the reason why they did that, is that they wanted to kind of stop the farming. So second boss, I mean, arguably second boss and third boss are just as simple, but the reason why they kind of did this trick and made the first boss a lot more intricate is that they didn't want players to be able to farm the raid. So, and you still ironically still ran into that. So players, when it was released way back, I forget the year, 2015, I think it was AMs. I believe it was 2015. It could be 2016, but I'm pretty sure it was 2015 when this raid came out. But you had groups just farming first boss and then would disband and then go into regular, do the final 2 bosses and kind of repeat. So because it was kind of like a crazy mess where the groups weren't good enough to beat second and third boss. Well, third boss was kind of bugged for a while, so even we couldn't beat third boss for a while when it came out. And then most leagues kind of stuck with it because there was feats, no death feats involved, the final destination feats. But I'm kind of wandering off track a bit. But yeah, the concept was that they didn't necessarily want the raid to be farmable, so they made the first boss harder in terms of the last two. So the second boss fight, you have 3 technically judges. Each have their own special abilities. So Acius, I'm probably butchering the pronunciation, but whatever. Acius, he fires this blue beam at you. It's a single target beam. It'll kill you if you don't have a shield active. You can block it and survive, but the problem is that the damage comes up the exact same time as the skull, so it's kind of doesn't work out that much. Radamathus, he fires this purple beam that summons eggs underneath you, and then the eggs will track you as you move. So if you don't move away, like if you still stand in the same spot, you're going to kill yourself because the eggs hit for like 200k damage per egg, and then just basically you're just taking that to the edge, similar to the Sorcerer's Rebuke beam from QE. So Mordru's beam, part of the True Gem feat. So same concept. It's going to proc damage on you. You have to move out of the way. It'll follow you. So you definitely don't want to take the eggs and wipe the group. And the reason you'll see some deaths, I believe, each judge has their own kind of stomp. It's called Unfair Judgment, and that can really one-shot players. It's that one right now is I don't think it'd be working as intended on test because it can hit from like almost any range. So or just randomly without a skull, you're going to hit for like 200k. So that's a wee bit of an issue. So this fight, it's one of these fights that is not going to encourage gem spam because you have to be spread apart. A, for the eggs. B, for trying to think positioning wise for the judgment as well. And the other judge just summons ads. So he'll keep summoning ads. So the concept here is that you get, they rotate. So you get the first judge out. It is random. So each time you'll have a different first judge that's out first. And basically the first judge that's out won't do his special attack. You just basically just attack normally. And it's actually pretty heavy hitting for the tank because they're all like two-handed ads. And you can't really kite as a tank. You have to stay in that one spot because you have to make sure the group has enough position for the eggs. And then if the eggs go in the tank, you're kind of kiting in that small little circle. But the concept is, yeah, the bosses will be out for a different amount of time. Then they'll kind of rotate. And then you have to watch just the skulls to see which boss is doing it. And then once you kill one judge, all the other 2 will respawn and attack all at once. You only have to kill 2 judges to progress. So it's really, strategy-wise, you're trying to get ACs first. You don't have to worry about that beam. But, I mean, that could change after the fact. But it's just that you want to kill as many, the quickest of 2 as you can. As you can see here at the end, the eggs got me. But that was just trying to kill. So once you kill the 2, the third, it just auto ends the fight. So that can cause a little bit of interesting, it's more kind of group coordination for that aspect. And unfortunately, it's going to be kind of cheesed with like atomic and like water powers and stuff like that. So I don't doubt there's going to be a lot of atomic tanks and like water healers, just for that very fact. Now with Hades, the final boss fight, this is a little bit more intricate. So basically, there's a few different things going on. You can see the judges wandering around. If they get close to you, they're going to stun you. They don't do the damage. It's just annoying stun. You're going to have ads come out called Totem Masters. They're going to spawn totems, and then they're going to keep spawning ads. So when that Totem Master ad comes out, you want to kill it as fast as you can. Another mechanic is that randomly players are going to get shaded. What I mean by that, you're going to get transformed into a shade where you have to stomp 4 times to get out of it. The purpose of the shade is a couple things. You can pick up objects and build the statues for a feat, and as well as the design of the shade is to kill the ads. So if you stomp on the ads, you deal massive damage to the ads, but you also deal damage to players. So you want to make sure that it's only the tanks are near it. You're calling out because if you just start stomping on the group who are trying to get out of the transformation, kind of like the Gorilla Grodd and like Flash to the Future. So the same concept, but except that with the Grodd, you can't just hit a button and get out. You have to stomp 4 times, and you're dealing 4 times AoE damage to everyone around you. So either you're going off to a little corner to do it. As you can see here, a death came from Hades. So Hades got right now he's bugged. He taunts proximity aggro on pets. So he'll go after like Wonder Woman and go after like sidekick, stuff like that. So that's definitely not working as intended because that didn't work in the past. He's got 2 primary mechanics, well, technically 3. His first one is going to be the Reflect, which you kind of see now. It's a huge tell. You can't miss it. The Reflect isn't that strong compared to other Reflects, so I'm sure that'll get increased. The second one is his Staff Spin. That one has to be lunged instantly. The Staff Spin does insane damage to the tank. As you can saw earlier to me, it one-shot me. That's an instant lunge. You have to get that. And then his third is technically the teleport mechanic. That one basically teleports one of each role into the kind of inside where you have to, like right now, you have to kill one of the shade guards. Each player, like a tank, healer, troller, and DPS has to kill that and able to be opening up the portal to get out. So since it transports one of each role, if you're the controller, you're always going to get transported, so don't even like worry about it because you're obviously going to be the only controller. So 100% you're always getting teleported no matter what. Tank wise, if you can run 1 tank and get away with it, that's fine. 2 tanks is just playing it safe. You can technically run 1, but the problem is if you run 1 tank and he gets teleported out, then you got some issues of survivability. So the inside can take up to like a minute or so depending on how fast you kill the ads. So really 2 tanks is pretty much required for this boss because of that teleport mechanic. Because you can't risk all 4 players or multiple players dying on the inside while you're on the outside trying to DPS the shades to get back in. So at that point you need 2 tanks. In terms of 2 healers, once again same thing. I mean if you have 1 healer, that's always teleported inside. That means the group people on the outside have to survive. The tank, maybe not a big deal, but say if there's like the Totem Master's out, there's a player gets shaded. So there's a lot of RNG for this aspect as well. So if you have 1 healer out here and that gets shaded, then the healer's got to stomp 4 times. No one's getting any heals, so it becomes an issue. So that's why Throwing the Dead Elite, or Throwing the Dead in general, is one of the most balanced raids in terms of its design, where it requires multiple roles. So a lot of the time where you can kind of get away with like you're running 5 DPS, 1 tank, 1 healer, 1 troll, and then just kind of just DPS through things. Well, you can't really do that in this fast fight. You can, but you're putting yourself at tremendous risk because of that situation. So if you want to run that 5 DPS, that means that you're never going to have a healer on the outside. You're never going to have a tank on the outside, and you just have to kind of run around with ironically I say that, but we have tried that. Not now, but back in like 2015, we did try running like sidekicks just to kind of survive and block in the back and hide. So it all becomes on how safe you want to play it. So if you want to take 1 of each role, then you know for sure you're going to have 4 and 4, and then at that point it's just surviving. So in terms of ads, you don't necessarily have to kill the ads. Once again, that could be for the shades. If you're shaded, you can kill the ads. That's the purpose of them. They'll do like you can nearly one-shot the ads as a shade, but you want to make sure you kill that Totem Master as fast as possible. You can juggle it. It's just that the Totem Master, if you don't kill it, it's eventually going to spawn a totem if it's not juggled, and then you're running into an issue because the totem is going to keep spawning ads, and you're just going to get overwhelmed. Yeah, it's certainly Throwing the Dead Elite is certainly going to be more interesting, much more interesting than FOSS 2 Elite and Inner Sanctum Elite. Because Throwing the Dead Elite was designed with Elite in general, in terms of it being the first Elite raid. They actually put some thought into it, where FOSS 2 Elite and Inner Sanctum Elite, you're just kind of upscaling the damage. It's not really, you're not introducing any new mechanics or any new aspects to that fight, so that's why it's pretty straightforward. I mean, yeah, the bosses hit harder, but I mean, you're not really changing the raid, because the raid wasn't designed with, the death counter and Elite in general, where this raid was. Not that it's artificial difficulty, but it was certainly one of the more interesting ones. So, and just to kind of wrap up here, if you're not completely aware, so how this works is that on the 21st, we're going to have all the Batman content disappear. So Iceberg Lounge, Family Reunion Elite, and the Inner Sanctum Elite will disappear. And then for a month, we're going to have Wonder Woman, which I said before is the Raising Hades duo, Themyscira Divided, and Throwing the Dead. And then after that month, before the new DLC comes out, which is going to be like late November, early December, all 3 are going to be up. So as you can see here, the example, this is the shades. You can see the damage I'm doing to the ads. So just imagine if I was stomping beside a player, then that's just massive spike damage for the healers to take. It's just not necessary. But it's going back on the topic. So after Wonder Woman's month is up, the Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman content will all come back. So that means for probably a couple weeks or a few weeks, we're going to have all 3 raids, all 3 alerts, and all 3 duos up at the same time to be able to run. More so that's involved with the feats, because if you weren't aware, you have to run the elite raids 50 times, and you have to run 250 solos, 250 alerts, and 250 raids. It doesn't have to be 250 elite, but just has to be 50 elite and 250 total. Those are the counter feats, and if you don't finish those counter feats by the time House of Legends completes, which is going to be early December, then you can't get those feats again until it comes back. So, not that I'm sure a lot of people aren't going to farm that 250 just because that's a lot, but just be mindful that you won't be able to run it until Save the Universe comes back, which, I mean, they mentioned that Save the Universe is going to be kind of on a rotating schedule, but we don't know when that's going to rotate. So just be mindful if you're looking to get those feats are going to disappear, and you're unable to be earn any Save the Universe feats until it returns. Besides probably the OP hands. You could buy the OP hands just from the broker and marketplace and stuff. So this is Throne Dead Elite. If you have any questions or comments, put them in the comment section below. What I'll probably do as well is I'll find some kind of random commentary I can do and then show footage of the original Throne Dead Elite back with like Quantum AM, just to kind of give a comparison. So take care, guys.